everybody. It's your podcast, Sista Lisa, and thanks for tuning in. I hope you're ready to meet one of the most talented jazz singer-songwriters and musician, Ava Preston, today. And guess what? She's joining me in the studio, which is a first for me at Podcast Sista. Welcome, Ava. How you doing?
Good. How are you? So happy to be here.
Well, thanks for joining me today. I'll tell you, I looked at your bio, listened to many of your songs, watched YouTube videos, and you have been performing since you were 10 years old.
Yeah, I've been performing in clubs since I was 10 years old. I was told that my first official performance was when I was 4 years old at like a little cabaret night, and I think I was singing jazz there too. But I was fortunate enough to be brought to jam sessions by local musicians, and I'm really grateful that I got to start that early.
Yeah, I watched the one YouTube video of you on stage, like you said, 10 years old, and you had a band behind you while you were on stage. You had drums, you had a piano player, you had a bass player. The second YouTube video I saw, you were about 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And you got a chance to perform on stage at the very famous Bluebird Cafe in Nashville.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, you looked like a seasoned pro, that's for sure. You had your guitar, you were sitting on a stool, and you introduced yourself to the audience, and you wrote a song called New Color for that performance.
Yeah. I think it was spring training out of NSAI. It was like a songwriting competition. And I was really grateful. They're just like, yeah, come on, let's let this 11-year-old in. Like, but I was really fortunate to be able to perform Bluebird Cafe. And I think, yeah, we did some rounds at the Commodore. And that whole experience was so much fun.
Yeah, you look like you were having a great time.
I was.
Yeah, and when you wrote the song New Color, and I know this has been a long time ago because you've certainly written many, many other originals, but what struck me the most was you wrote this song, New Color, and it really talked about the out of the box type thinker. And, describing what it's like daily to have maybe that creative side and those sorts of things. And it was very deep for somebody so young to write about. What inspired you to write it?
Yeah, that song is really near and dear to me. It sort of helped me finalize the mission that I want to take with my music. I grew up in a pretty homogeneous community. Out of the box thinking, it was sort of a town where if you didn't conform right to the norms, you were kind of seen as weird or outcasted. And I think as artists in general, it's easier for us to sort of stray to the outcast or labels like that, because we think differently. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that sometimes people who are creative don't always have the same sort of thought process as everybody else. There's extra steps, there's different ways that we see things that aren't exactly the normal things. But yeah, my music is a vehicle for tolerance. That's what I want to explore, and that's the message I want to send, because I we're always striving for this world peace, but I always say that I think it's an absolute. We're an imperfect society. There's going to be conflicts. There's going to be disagreements. I just want to make sure through my music and hopefully, just talking to everybody out there who maybe felt like I did when I was little, and even now in some ways, that it's okay to be different. We should celebrate our differences, and I just don't want anybody to feel like I did growing up, like that you need to hide parts of who you are because it's not necessarily the normal way of doing things.
Well, I think that was well said. And I like how you're so open and honest and talk about this subject. It's very important. And I know that you're a strong advocate of anti-bullying in school. So, Ava, what is your goal to talk about and bring to light the serious topic of anti bullying, particularly in the schools?
Yeah, I really want to bring this to light because, again, I don't think anybody should feel like they need to change any aspect of who they are to fit into a society that maybe wasn't made for them in the first place. I think that we should be celebrating differences. I don't think that we should be stifling creativity. Sometimes in schools and socially, I think we should be encouraging more more love, honestly. More love of who people are, meeting people where they're at. If somebody's struggling, we should be offering a hand, not saying, "Oh, haha, you can't get this." Because in reality, we all have strengths and differences. We all have strengths and weaknesses. And we need to, somebody's weaknesses may be another person's strength. And I feel like we need to work together in that aspect. And especially socially for little kids, they need to grow up in an environment that encourages them to be exactly who they are, because your strength will help somebody else's weakness.
Well said. And it's amazing how young you are. You've just graduated in 2023 from high school.
Yep.
And I have to say, like you said, academically, you graduated from high school also with an associate's degree.
Yeah.
And that's quite an accomplishment. And in fact, right now, you are working on earning your master's degree in jazz music at Juilliard School in New York.
Yep. Jazz vocals. It's a master's at the Juilliard School. I'm very fortunate, very grateful.
Absolutely. What was that like when you were accepted in this famous, world-renowned college that has very competitive admission policies, and you got that call or that letter? What'd you feel like?
Well, it was definitely a journey. I was working all through high school, through COVID. I owe everything to Tri-C and the College Credit Plus program, because they are what enabled me to get through high school, really get through COVID, because I was, I loved going to college classes. I loved being in a room with older peers too. I loved expanding my knowledge during COVID when everybody was inside. I thought, and my mom thought too, it was her idea and another counselor's idea, to say, hey, while everybody's inside, why don't you try and take college classes in order to get your associate's degree? Because you could be saving some money, and the education is free through the CCP program. And so, yeah, I got my degree in high school, and then a year out of high school, 2024, I graduated from Kent State University with a degree in jazz. And I felt like I've just been working for the past 5 years on top of being in high school and being in college and doing gigs. And the Juilliard admission process is very rigorous, and the audition process especially, you need to know your material, you need to do it in an accurate way, but you also need to bring yourself to the table. It's not like a test where there's answers that you need to get correct. It's you need to know these concepts, but you also need to bring enough of yourself to the table that they'll think, okay, we can teach you something. We can mold you as an artist. So it was very stressful, but it was really rewarding to go through that whole audition process, because it's helped me in other auditions too, to know exactly what I'm doing. And it's very much like a preparatory school for the for going into the workforce of music. But to answer your question, sorry, long-winded answer.
No, I love listening to you.
Long-winded answer to say, I got the letter in the mail. I didn't know, because I only applied to really 2 schools. So I got the letter through my email while I was in big band practice at Kent State. And I remember raising my hand. I'm like, Professor Zavaggio, I got into Juilliard. And then everybody's like, oh, yeah, we got into Juilliard. It was amazing. I was just in disbelief, because they sent out the admissions. I think it's hilarious. Every year on April Fool's Day,
Oh my
So
gosh.
I'm looking at it like, is this a joke? Are they going to send me another email saying, "Our bad, you're not in"?
Oh.
But no, it was incredible, and it felt like, a lot of the work and a lot of the mentorship and everybody, coming together, all of it has paid off.
Absolutely. You mentioned Tri-C and how much that college has played a part in your life. And I have to give full disclosure. Josh Trokey, my producer,
Mhm.
said to me, you have to listen to Ava Preston. She was part of the Tri-C Jazz Fest that was just held in June in Cleveland. And I'm so glad he mentioned it, because when I listen to your music, I'm like, oh gosh, I have to have her on the show.
Mhm.
And tell us about that jazz fest that you participated in this year. And I know you've also participated in the jazz fest in prior years.
Mhm.
Tell us about that.
Well, Tri-C has a Jazz Fest Academy, and I was part of that before anything. It's a preparatory program now run by Dominic Farinacci for high school students and middle school students, really, really of any age, but mostly high school and middle school students, to learn jazz, to learn the business. And Dominic is one of my really great friends, an amazing mentor. I think of him as a second dad, although don't tell him I said that. He gets upset about that because he's like, I'm not that old. But yeah, it was an amazing program. It really prepared me. That's what I meant when I said the musicians in the community raised me. It was through this program I felt like I belonged, again with that touch on, feeling out of the box. When I went to Tri-C's Jazz Fest Academy camp, I felt like when going into my first year in middle school, so this was a time where I was very vulnerable. I didn't really know who I was or what I was going to do. I knew I wanted to be in music though, but I felt like very fish out of water. But when I got to the Tri-C Jazz Fest Academy, I felt an instant sense of belonging. This community, the Cleveland and Akron, Ohio in general jazz community, is incredibly loving. They've taught me everything that I've needed to know about being a band leader and about being a decent person, which is really crucial in the music business. People think that you can get by just being talented or working hard. You have to have people skills. You need to be a good person, because it's a goes around comes around kind of art, because it's art. We are speaking to people directly. We're a vehicle to the people.
Right.
So I got involved with the Tri-C Jazz Fest Academy, and through there I was able to perform at Jazz Fest every year with the student bands. And eventually I was able to apply to perform myself at the Jazz Fest. And I think it's one of the greatest jazz programs that we have and jazz festivals. I think we get so many amazing people, so many amazing teachers, and it's for any young musician. I think even if you don't ultimately want to pursue jazz, I think just coming to that academy for 1 year or one summer is amazing. It's a great experience. I cannot say enough about it.
Yeah, I love your enthusiasm regarding all your experiences with with Tri-C and the Jazz Fest components, many of them. And I believe the Jazz Fest has been going on now for 46 years. I mean,
Yes.
it's been a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a great part of the Cleveland culture and music that
Mhm.
we experience really on a daily basis. We have not only the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in our great city, we have Playhouse Square and all the museums. We're very, very fortunate. Don't you feel that way?
I think a lot of people don't know that Ohio and Cleveland in general is very rich in the arts. It's very, very rich in all of the arts, in theater, in music, in traditional visual art, photography. I've met so many great photographers and videographers here. I mean, it's a very special place.
It is. In fact, you definitely have been recognized in the Cleveland area for your talent. You were named in 2024 the best female vocalist for the Cleveland Music Awards. And congratulations
Thank
on
you
that.
so much.
That's a big accomplishment. And I want to talk about your music and your songwriting.
Mm.
How would you describe your sound? Because it has a variety, not just jazz all the time.
This is always the hardest question. It really is, because it changes all the time. I think as an artist, your style evolves as you evolve as a person. So what I was doing maybe like when I was 10 is so much different than what I'm doing now. But generally, I'd say my style is jazz inspired. All of the tools and tricks that I've learned and theory that I've learned in jazz, I apply to a more indie rock context. Everybody who knows me knows I love, love, love Alanis Morissette. I love rawness in writing.
Yeah.
You know, it may not always sound pretty or delicate, but it's real and it's raw. Yeah, I like grittiness. I want to bring like a sort of grungy edge to jazz inspired music. I love Steely Dan. Obviously I love the greats like Ella, Sarah. I love Chick Corea. I love music that is written with a purpose. Like you can hear that it's not, oh, we're going to slap this song, it's going to be a party song, and that can be great too. But I like music that has a lot of deep meaning behind it, a lot of cryptic messaging. I like to have a message on the surface and below the surface too, so that it can be interpreted many different ways for, you know, a lot of different audiences to connect to. But yeah, I mean, my music is inspired by a wealth of different types of music and art in general.
Yeah, and you do it so well. And I think what makes podcast Sista different, two things. I definitely want to give independent artists a platform to showcase their music. But number two, when we talk about an artist's music, I want to make sure that they get a taste of what it sounds like while they're listening to this podcast.
Oh.
So I want to focus on one of your hit singles, Antifreeze.
Oh.
And you wrote that song. I listened to it, and we're going to play a snippet in a moment so the audience can hear it. But I want to talk about what was the message that you wanted to relay in Antifreeze, because the title is tremendous.
Thank you.
Tell us the message.
There's so many different aspects behind this one. There's like a couple different stories. Usually my songwriting process is I have a melody in my head and I have a hook. So I have my piano hook. You can hear it at the beginning of the song and throughout the song. And I was just messing around with that, messing around with the melody. And that I knew that I wanted these rapid fire lyrics. And when I knew that, I'm like, okay, what does this sound like? What do I want to make with this? And I'm like, I want to do the personification of a panic attack. So when you're up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and you don't know, I mean, the lyrics are 3 a.m. again, I want to down a cup of antifreeze. Like you're just reeling in your bed, tossing and turning, thinking, oh gosh, the next day never feels like it's going to come soon enough. Can't get to sleep. You're spinning. And I just wanted the music to reflect that idea. And once I saw where the trajectory of the music was going, I'm like, oh, I need to capture these lyrics in this way. And I put a lot of thought into every single one of my lyrics. I'm a huge perfectionist and a stickler for that. So like if I don't feel like my lyrics are complete to the best of my ability, or if I don't feel like they fit, I will not sing the song for people. Like I only share my music when I think it's completely done to the best of my ability at that time.
Good for you. I think this is a great time to kick off the podcast with your song, Ava, Antifreeze. And when we come back, let's talk more music. I love that song, Ava.
Thank you.
It does capture the feeling of a panic attack. I know I've had many panic attacks. And like you said, speeding up that song and the lyrics, and it really shows how good you are as a singer to be able to do that range of vocals. And you do it so well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I want to talk about another song that has a deep meaning, and it's one that I believe would resonate with so many people in many, many different ways. And that song is called Some Overdose that you wrote. Can you tell us about that song and the important message that you wanted to relay in that song?
Definitely. This is a song that's very, very important to me. I wrote it when I was, I think, around 12 to 14, and I've recently written some more lyrics for it, so I may re-record it in the future, hopefully. But it's about the opioid crisis, the opioid epidemic, especially in Ohio, in the Midwest. How I would always explain it is my generation, especially, we all share this trauma of knowing somebody who's been directly impacted by the opioid crisis, whether it's a friend or a parent or a friend of a parent, or, you know, like somebody's sister, somebody's brother, somebody's mom, whether it's your own family or somebody close to you. I think everybody who I've talked to in my generation has been affected. And I think that the stance we need to take is not punishing, but we need to help people recover. We need to bring awareness to this rather than, oh, they're just a bunch of addicts. I mean, these are people who have a disease. Yeah. Addiction is classified as a disease. It's an illness. People need help. I think we just need to be more aware of this, not demonizing people who are struggling. And I feel like we need to nip this in the butt because honestly, too many kids are getting addicted to substances, and this needs to end, and we need to get people the help they need.
Wow. Well, that song, I loved it. I encourage everyone to listen to that song on Spotify and all the streaming platforms, and also to hear you talk, and you're so articulate about your subject matter. And you know, you mentioned you were a perfectionist. I think you're just extremely talented and you know what you want. You are a leader in your genre, whether it is jazz or a mixture of rock and pop. And gosh, you should be so proud of yourself. And I can't wait to see where you are in the next 5 years, for example. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
This is another one of those questions that, like, I get asked this all the time, but it's like I never know how to answer it. I think I want to be in a space where I have a platform. I don't really care about, you know, like fame and fortune, only to the extent where I want a large enough platform to be able to deliver my message to as many people who are willing to hear it as possible. That's my view on, like, fame. I want to use it as a vehicle to share my music to anybody who's willing to listen. But in 5 years, honestly, I've always wanted to play stadiums. I've wanted to release an album of my own music. I want to play in big venues. I want to play in small venues. I want to maybe have a few students teach some master classes, but I want to be a performer, performing and making a living on my own music and sharing it to a huge audience, hopefully.
Yeah, I know you're going to do it. You just light up the studio when you walked in. And again, I want to share another song snippet with the listeners and your fans. It's your song, Move Along. But before I play that, let's talk about that song and the style that you bring in that song.
So this one is definitely more of a jazzy one, I'd say, in the sense of when I wrote it, it had a lot of contrasting time signatures. And for people who aren't in music, a lot of music is in 4/4, like 1, 2, 3, you know, it's a groove. But then I was putting things in there like like those are abnormal time signatures. It kind of feels like a little bit off from the music that most people are used to listening to, used to hearing, used to dancing to. But I didn't really realize that I was writing those like sort of jazzy time signatures in there until I had to write it down and give it to people. When I was tinkering with the melody, tinkering with the forms and the harmonies, I was looking for a message. And usually I have snippets of lyrics that come to me. And as it was all forming, I wanted to really deliver a message of there's a lot of things in life that are taxing both emotionally and physically, and sometimes you got to get up and you got to move along. And there's things that you wish you would have done, there's things that you always think that you could have done better, but in the end, I mean, life goes on. That's really the message of this song. Life goes on, and you can choose to move with it.
Yeah. And I think that's a good way to kick off the song snippet number 2, Move Along by Ava Preston. And when we come back, we'll talk more music.
Anticipation. So who will make the next move? It doesn't matter if I've got you in check, if I've always been set up to lose. I know it's painful, it's tempting just to let it go. For every bad mistake that you've made, did you honestly think I won't know? So when the tape plays out, the colors fade, the light comes on, we'll see who's in the wrong. I know it's not my style to draw the line, but this illusion can't keep going on.
Another great song, Ava. Way to go. I know that you are working on many projects and your performance schedule is very busy. And I encourage everyone to look at your website to keep up with what you're doing. But why don't you give us a sneak peek at what projects you're working on for the future?
Ooh, yes. So I'm definitely working on a few projects right now. I always seem to be working on a few things at once, and they all are unfinished. But definitely working on some new songs. Just wrote 2 new originals while I was at Juilliard, and I hope to write a few more this summer. Trying to really get something together for an all original or mostly original album. But my big project right now that I just got grant funded for through Juilliard, they have a project grant every year, and I think I was one of 14 people who were funded. There's a lot of different music conservatories in Manhattan and New York and Jersey that are focusing on, that have like a jazz program, and I want to give an opportunity for all of these students to, you know, expose jazz to the general public. So I've created this project called Sidewalk Swing. So what's going to happen in mid-October, we're going to get a bunch of different jazz combos of students, and we're going to post them on a load of different street corners all throughout Manhattan as like a sort of takeover of the city in jazz. And we're delivering jazz right to the people because it is a music for the people. So why not bring it outside of places where, you know, you need a ticket or you need to go and buy a drink somewhere, like bringing it directly to the public.
I love that idea. And I can't wait to have you back on the show to talk about that project and all the other things that you're doing. And I really appreciate you coming in the studio today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And if those that are listening want to check out your social media, where can they find you?
Oh, they can find me on Instagram at Ava Preston Music. TikTok, I just started recently. Everything's under Ava Preston Music. And then you can find my shows on my website. I have a Bands in Town under Ava Preston Music too. I'd say just look at the website and the social medias under it. Mostly I do Instagram and TikTok.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again. And Ava, like I always say at the end of my podcast, that's a wrap.